Prehistoric Australia, the nightmare that walked the earth. Imagine standing on the red soil of ancient Australia. The sky above you is blistering hot, the air still, thick with the scent of eucalyptus and dust. You're not alone. The ground shakes under the weight of giants. In the shadows of sparse bushland, something watches. Something ancient, something hungry. Welcome to Pleistocene Australia, a land of terrifying megafauna, chaotic climate shifts, and the constant battle between predator and prey. This was no peaceful Eden. It was a realm forged by fire and fury, where evolution bred monsters unlike anything the world has seen since. For the first humans to arrive, this wasn't just a new frontier. It was a full-blown horror show. This is not a tale of imagination. This is real history, stranger and more spine-chilling than any fiction. For 5,000 words, we will walk beside the extinct titans, dive into deadly rivers, run from prehistoric birds, and uncover the deep, lingering terror etched into the bones of this forgotten world. Australia, the forgotten lost world. During the Pleistocene epoch, roughly 2.6 million to 12,000 years ago, Australia was a biological island unlike any other. Isolated from the evolutionary paths of Africa, Asia, and the Americas, its creatures evolved down a path all their own. Here, mammals laid eggs. Birds lost their ability to fly, but gained terrifying size, and reptiles became armored tanks or venomous giants. The land was ruled by beasts so alien that modern science struggles to fully understand them. Fossil records found across Australia, from the Nullarbor caves to the dried-out lake beds of central Queensland, have revealed the remains of creatures that stretch the imagination. Room-sized wombats, crocodiles longer than buses, and dragons that could sprint and kill in one motion. It was also a land of extremes. Vast deserts, flooded grasslands, volcanoes, and forests that burned with apocalyptic rage. This unpredictability made survival difficult, but for those who did survive, the rewards were domination. And into this hellscape came Homo sapiens, fragile, intelligent, and completely unprepared. Diprotodon, the giant wombat that walked like a god. Meet Diprotodon, the largest marsupial that ever lived. This thing wasn't just big, it was colossal. Weighing up to 2,800 kilograms, that's over 6,000 pounds, and stretching more than 4 meters in length, Diprotodon resembled a wombat crossbred with a hippo. But don't let the cuddly resemblance fool you. These were powerful, muscular beasts. With their pillar-like legs and low-slung heads, they moved with the slow but unyielding force of a tank. One swipe of their forelimbs could potentially crush a predator or rival. Fossilized footprints tell us these creatures moved in herds, likely family units, and covered huge distances in search of food and water. But they weren't invincible. Diprotodons had few defenses beyond their size, and in the unforgiving ecosystem of prehistoric Australia, size alone wasn't enough to guarantee survival. Thunderbirds, Genyornis and the avian terror. If Diprotodon ruled the plains, Genyornis newtoni ruled the shadows. Standing at over 3 meters tall, nearly 10 feet, and weighing 500 kilograms, this flightless bird was the stuff of nightmares. It had stubby wings, thick legs built for speed, and a massive beak capable of snapping bone. Unlike emus or ostriches, Genyornis may have had a more aggressive temperament. Could it have hunted? Some scientists believe it was omnivorous, capable of scavenging and perhaps even predation. Aboriginal oral histories speak of enormous birds attacking travelers. Legends of the Mihirung Paring, or giant emu. Even more chilling, Genyornis didn't go extinct millions of years ago. It likely survived until about 45,000 years ago, meaning early humans encountered them directly. Rock art found in Arnhem Land seems to depict large, bird-like creatures unlike anything living today. Charred eggshell fragments discovered in sand dunes hint that humans may have raided their nests, perhaps sparking their eventual extinction. The image of a child stumbling upon a Genyornis nest, the booming cry of the adult nearby, conjures one word: run. Megalania, the dragon that stalked the land. Forget Komodo dragons. Australia had something far worse. Megalania prisca was a monstrous monitor lizard, potentially growing up to 7 meters long, and weighing more than 1,000 kilograms. That's bigger than most crocodiles and far more mobile. With long, muscular tails, sharp claws, and serrated teeth possibly laced with venom, Megalania was a top predator. Its closest living relatives are modern-day goannas, but that's like comparing a house cat to a lion. This apex hunter likely ambushed its prey, relying on stealth and explosive power. It may have used venom to weaken its victims before returning for the final kill. The terrifying possibility remains. Megalania might have survived well into the Holocene, perhaps only 10,000 years ago. Some remote Aboriginal legends speak of giant lizards, bunyips or gunya, that lurked in dry gullies and attacked travelers. Is it folklore or a forgotten encounter? Killer koalas and demon ducks. You've heard of koalas, but ancient Australia had a relative known as Phascolarctos sturtoni, Sturton's koala. It was twice the size of its modern cousin and adapted to tougher environments. While not a predator, its claws and strength made it a formidable tree dweller. And then there's the so-called demon duck of doom, scientifically named Bullock ornis. Imagine a duck, the size of a horse, with a beak strong enough to crush skulls. Some paleontologists think it was herbivorous, but others argue its massive head and jaw structure suggest opportunistic predation. It stood 2.5 meters tall, weighed around 250 kilograms, and its eyes may have faced slightly forward, giving it binocular vision, a feature more common in predators. It's the duck you never ever want to meet. Death in the waterways. You might think rivers and lakes offered safety. Think again. Ancient Australia's waterways were ruled by monsters like Palimnarchus, a prehistoric crocodile that could grow up to 8 meters long. Bigger than any croc alive today, it had a skull that looked like it belonged to a nightmare. Wide, flat, armored, and filled with jagged teeth. It was a stealth hunter, likely lurking in reed-choked rivers, waiting for thirsty animals or humans to get close. And when it struck, it did so with terrifying speed. Let's not forget prehistoric lungfish, giant sawfish, and possible incursions by marine predators into estuarine zones. Even in the water, Australia was trying to eat you. Apocalypse on repeat, climate and fire. If the monsters didn't get you, the climate would. Australia during the Pleistocene experienced dramatic shifts, massive droughts followed by sudden flooding, megafires that wiped out entire forests and animal populations. Some bushfires were so large, they left charcoal layers across entire regions, visible even today in the geological record. These fires weren't just natural. Human arrival coincides with increased charcoal evidence, suggesting early fire use for hunting and land management. But this may have had unintended consequences, driving large herbivores out of grazing zones and into starvation. Did humans accidentally set the world on fire? Or were they simply trying to survive in a land already tipping into chaos? The first Australians' arrival in a land of monsters. Around 65,000 years ago, the first humans reached Australia. Whether by raft or land bridge, they arrived with only stone tools, courage, and ingenuity. What they encountered was beyond imagination. These early Aboriginal peoples had to adapt fast. They learned the patterns of giant predators, tracked seasonal migrations, and developed tools capable of hunting animals many times their size. Spears hardened with fire, boomerangs, fire stick farming to manipulate the land. And they remembered. Through story, art, and ceremony, they preserved their encounters with megafauna. The dream time is filled with tales of giant beasts, thunderbirds, serpent kings, and shape-shifting monsters. Today, Aboriginal knowledge is being used by scientists to trace long-lost species and ecological changes. Oral tradition becomes data, and the myths may yet unlock new truths. The Great Vanishing. Why did the monsters die? Between 50,000 and 40,000 years ago, most of Australia's megafauna vanished. The extinction was rapid, devastating, and still not fully understood. Some blame climate change. Others point to the spread of fire and land clearing. But the most likely culprit? Human overhunting. Not a blitzkrieg, but a slow-motion ecological unraveling. Imagine this. Humans begin hunting eggs, then juveniles, then adults. Combine that with drought, burning, and resource competition, and a tipping point is reached. Slowly the giants fall, but some scientists suggest a more violent theory, a cosmic impact event. The so-called Younger Dryas impact hypothesis proposes that a comet or meteor strike caused continent-wide wildfires and atmospheric cooling, wiping out species in waves. Whatever the truth, the extinction left Australia with a gaping hole in its ecosystem, one still felt today. The shadow remains. Though they're gone, the monsters of Australia's past have left behind their shadows. In bones, in cave art, in stories whispered across thousands of generations. Fossils continue to emerge. New species are still being named. Ancient DNA is being extracted, and de-extinction technology is no longer science fiction. Could we one day see Diprotodon cloned in a lab? A megalania embryo in an incubator? More hauntingly, strange sightings persist. Bushwalkers report huge tracks. Ranchers tell tales of giant birds and unseen predators. While skeptics laugh, the outback keeps its secrets well. Australia, the monster continent. Prehistoric Australia wasn't just dangerous. It was unrelenting, primal, and full of dark wonder. It was a continent of biological experimentation, where natural selection ran wild and monsters walked beside men. We may never know the full scale of what once lived here. But one thing is certain, Australia wasn't just a land of nightmares, it was a land of legends. And those legends, they're not finished with us yet.